Well, hello. Welcome to our continuing devotional through the book of Colossians. We're currently in Colossians chapter 1, and we've been focused on a section in verses 9 through 14 in which the Apostle Paul tells us about what I've called 4 goals of the Christian life, 4 things that we should be focused on. One is being enlightened. We talked about that in verse 9. Secondly, to be godly, to walk in a manner worthy of the Lord. We talked about that in verse 10 in our previous devotional. But the third Christian life goal is to be strong. To be strong. We'll talk about what that means. If you look at verse 11, it says, being strengthened with all power according to his glorious might for all endurance and patience with joy. So the third thing Paul prays is that they will be strengthened with all power. That means they'll be able to handle anything. Well, how in the world can you handle anything? Who has that kind of power? Well, it's divine power. That's why he says all power according to his, not our own abilities, but according to his glorious might. Like we covered in our previous devotional in the book of Philippians, Paul said, I can do all things through him who strengthens me. Now, when Paul talks about being strengthened with all power, he's not referring to physical strength. He's not even referring to the ability to accomplish anything. He's not saying I can be a Super Bowl champion or I can be an Oscar-winning actor, or I can be a genius who is able to develop new inventions. He's not talking about those kinds of things. He has a very specific application of divine strength, which he talks about in verse 11 there, where he says, being strengthened with all power, according to his glorious might. And then he says, this is the purpose of that strength, for all endurance and patience with joy. 2 things, for endurance and for patience. We're strengthened for endurance and we're strengthened for patience. Those refer to 2 different things. Endurance refers to the ability to handle overwhelmingly difficult circumstances. We have been given divine power and should grow in our strength to handle even seemingly impossible situations. The troubles of life, the stresses of life, the temptations of life. Sometimes life is hard, very, very hard, and we go through some very sorrowful things, some very difficult things, some very uncertain things, but because we have divine power, we can never say, I can't handle this. It's beyond me. Not because we're relying upon ourselves, but we've been given divine power according to his glorious might to have endurance, to handle overwhelmingly difficult circumstances. But not just endurance. He also says we need divine power for patience. Patience refers to overwhelmingly difficult people. Patience with people. Christians have God's power to remain faithful, to do the right thing, even when they're dealing with seemingly impossible people. To be loving, to be kind, to be righteous, despite the fact that certain people just push your buttons. And it seems like you just can't stay godly. You can't stay faithful when you're dealing with those people. In fact, there are people I have met that say, I can deal with sickness. I can deal with poverty. I can deal with persecution. I can deal with temptation. I can even go to jail for my faith, but I can't take this person one more day. But here's the thing. God has given us divine strength, and he encourages us to be strong as part of our Christian goals, our life goals, to be strong according to his glorious might, not only for endurance, to endure all types of situations, but also for patience, so we can endure and stay faithful to God with all kinds of people. And then he says at the end of verse 11 that we have that endurance and we have that patience with joy. With joy. So it's not like, all right, I have to deal with this person, I'll just deal with it, or I have to deal with this circumstance and I'll just deal with it, but I'm not happy about it. No, God gives us such divine strength and such enlightenment that we can actually go through the hardest circumstances or deal with the most difficult of people. And when we grow in Christian maturity, we can do that with joy. So far we've seen 3 what I've called Christian life goals. Be enlightened, to know his will and his word and his ways, to be godly, to walk in a manner worthy of him, fully pleasing to him, and to be strong, to be strengthened with all power according to his glorious might. So we have endurance, deal with all kinds of circumstances, and patience, deal with all kinds of people, and we do that with joy. Now, our next devotional, we'll look at the final Christian life goal in the next verse. Have a blessed day.